truly unfortunate. We're gonna do these do some of these sad stories first, so we can have some fun at the end. George Floyd's niece, beautiful little, beautiful little kid, was shot. The family is calling it a targeted attack. For more on this story, I'm gonna play some audio from Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Indisputable. Let's play it.
Decided to physically attack.
Wrong one. That's a crazy story right there. That's a judge attacked a handcuffed man in the courtroom, 2018. Nothing happened to the judge, and he on camera attacking somebody.
Ariana Delaney. Okay. Her name is Ariana Delaney. Okay. George Floyd's 4-year-old great niece, Ariana Delaney, was shot at night while she was sleeping in what her father claimed was a targeted attack. Okay? The father is saying this was a targeted attack. Ariana, the 2 children and 4 adults who were sleeping inside of the second floor of their South Houston, Texas apartment when a shooter opened fire around 3 a.m. on New Year's Day. Ariana was sleeping in the front bedroom when gunfire broke out. She survived the attack and is recovering after an emergency surgery for a punctured lung and liver. She also suffered 3 broken ribs. She's in a lot of pain right now. My daughter jumped up and said, "Daddy, I've been hit." Imagine a 4-year-old child having to say that, even knowing what that phrase means.
Yeah, that's crazy. So let's fast forward, because now this is the part of the story. Now, I get it. Some people say gun violence happens. I get it. But listen to this, gets a little deeper. Let's fast forward to this part. The police, according to what I'm hearing, and the story right here, this is from the Independent. Let's play this.
Profound and sickening. Mr. Delaney, okay, the father, is claiming that it was a targeted shooting, but did not elaborate. "Why would my house get shot up?" he said. My daughter doesn't know. "I can't explain that to her. As the father, you're supposed to protect the kids." The family has accused the police of a delayed response and said officials did not arrive until after 7 a.m. Now, wait a minute. What time did this happen? 3 a.m. What time did the officials arrive? After 7 a.m. Okay? It gets deeper. This delayed response, I mean, this is basically a non-response. 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. This so-called delayed response is so egregious that it is now being investigated by the Houston police.
Let's stop it right there. We'll pick it up from there. Same order. Reggie, talk to me about this. This young girl, 4 years old, shot. The police, from this happened around 3 a.m. Police did not arrive till around 7 a.m. Reggie, make this make sense, homie.
Man, ain't no sense to make. Ain't no sense to make to this. The cops who serve on that in that jurisdiction, who was supposed to be on that beat in that area, they all need to be relieved of duty, or relieved of the jobs. Decommission them, get them out of law enforcement. Could this been something they have against his family? Could this be that they know that this is a relative of George Floyd, and therefore they're showing protest for the guilty cop involved in George Floyd's death, that they won't respond? But being the cops don't mean that the most important emergency agency to show up there showed up to get the girl to the hospital. But the cops to go out there and to really try to solve what's the situation behind it.
Right.
Huh?
I said, secure the scene, collect evidence. You lose a lot of evidence in 4 hours, man.
Right. And it's like now you can't even trust them to even go after a suspect. And that's the problem with dealing with law enforcement officials who shouldn't be on the job, why there needs to be more accountability in law enforcement. More heads should be spent. More heads around this country should be spending within law enforcement, meaning those jobs should be easy to lose. Like it shouldn't be like some 10-year type profession that people go into. And officers who show this type of egregious negligence in their function as officers should be relieved, should be gone. and hopefully local officials in Houston, the community, and all of them begin to speak, to speak openly and protest this and get some action for it. Not just so much of it because of a relative of George Floyd, but for the fact that that's some foul ish to pull off. And then you got a child who was injured in this. But that's my thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Clips. Talk to me. What you think of this story, man?
Uh, I think first of all, when I think of the story, I think, oh my God, my prayers out to that little queen. I want her healthy recovery, and I just wish that life doesn't make her heart bitter, and that she can move on from this pain and trauma because this is something she won't forget. That's my first thought. Uh, my second thought, when I look at the 4 hour delay in the response time, I say that the Department of Justice needs to institute their little branch that they had in the St. Paul, Minnesota area, because obviously they haven't did enough. I think of when the Michael Brown verdict and the BLM organization started taking hold in Missouri. If people actually do their research, a lot of the original BLM organizers were all gunned down and killed
Wow.
quietly. Yeah, you look it up. A lot of them original people from that Missouri area. So this is nothing new. If you follow the history of the civil rights movement, you'll see that a lot of black families or black people who were thrust into the spotlight because of their fight for civil rights and what they went through. People who were made up into the forefront. If you see a lot of times when the story gets out the news, shit starts happening to their family, and so this is really concerning me.
Go ahead, Uncle Kenny. What you think? What you think of the story, man? Truly unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a shame that she got shot. She's a sweet little girl right there. Hopefully she pulls through and she's okay. But the cops, I mean, that's ridiculous. 4 hours. Now, is there defunding over there? Did they defund the police over there to where there's limited cops or something, or no?
Not that I know of. Like, even if they were limited, four
So
hours.
they don't have no excuse, though.
Yeah,
So they
it's
don't have
four
no
hours
damn
for a
excuse.
child being shot. I don't think there's no excuse for that.
Yeah, no excuses there. Yeah, not at all.
Let
Yeah,
me
that's
play.
just fucked
Oh,
up,
God.
man.
All
Like
right, so
like
let's.
like Reggie said, they need to lose their jobs, every one of them. Yeah, from the higher up to the street cop that was supposed to be there. Yeah.
All right, let me play this audio.
Houston's police chief, Troy Finner, said in a statement that an internal affairs investigation has been launched. This is quick. This is a fast acknowledgement of an internal investigation. They say an internal investigation has been launched into the late response. There is no debate, not even from the police chief, that this response was not appropriate. The chief said, and I quote, "I am aware and have concerns regarding the delayed response time in this incident and have initiated an internal affairs investigation." Now, here's the other part of this narrative. So you have what the father is claiming to be a targeted attack. You have an extreme delay in response from 3 a.m. until after 7 a.m. the police get there. And Adriana, in particular, and her family were active in support of Black Lives Matter and the murder of Mr. George Floyd, the uncle. Adriana accompanied her family members to several Black Lives Matter protests following the killing of her uncle, George Floyd. 100% unacceptable.
Absolutely, totally unacceptable. Um, they gotta look into this, man. They can't just brush this over because the family should not be feeling like they're targeted. And obviously, you would feel that way if it takes 4 hours for the police to show up for gun violence. Now, normally the police show up. I was a medic, man, and the police and things like that, they show up and secure the scene. They let you know it's okay. They, before you move in. So I just find that crazy that for gun violence, ambulance, and those kind of things happen, and the police just still didn't show up. They were just like, all right, I mean, from 3 to 7, that's crazy, homie. That's crazy. We'll keep it moving though. We don't have to belabor the point. We will follow up on the story and see what's going on with the family. Truly unfortunate. Anybody got anything else to close out on this before we move forward?
My last thought is every people within the area and people on the national, international scene, the same way we had all that energy for George Floyd. We need to have that energy for our the state, local, and federal departments to really look at these, look at that police department as well as other police departments with history of this sort of tomfoolery. Because I mean, let's not act like there's not a pattern here. And the fact that there has been an internal investigation instantly already implemented means that even the law enforcement officials say this shit don't sound right. And so let's go ahead and let's applaud them for acknowledging that this ain't right. And let's just go on and hope that they do their job. But this time, actually do it to the T. Don't just give us something to make the public feel good. Actually weed out the bullshit within that police department.
And I got one more thing, even more than it just being like a thing of coming after the cops because of their lack of showing, but also being that this girl was shot by some cats, and that's who a lot of the focus shouldn't be lost on, just to direct it at the Houston police, because communities will always rally around being able to go after law enforcement, but stay silent among needing to condemn people in communities who commit these acts. And I think the same level of anger should be directed at the people who went to that apartment to shoot it up with a young kid in it. And you've been seeing a lot of that across this country, where people especially where you have access to these guns. Well, I think even in California they do it, where just having, in America, period, just having access to these high power guns, where people just blindly shoot into the homes of people. Even like recently in the killing of a guy out here in Vegas, who I was happy that he was killed based on some crap he did some years ago, because he was one of these guys who seen the father of a young kid in the window, who they were saying was selling weed in their neighborhood. They decide, they see him through the window. Him and a friend start shooting the apartment. Don't hit this guy, but this house has 4 kids in there, and he ends up striking a young 9-year-old girl, killing her. Later, he will be killed when I did this video, and they find out the person who did it was his cousin. But this is the type of cowardly
Whoa,
acts.
whoa, his cousin killed him.
His cousin was the one that recently just killed him.
Wow,
Tracked him down, followed him into a restaurant out here in Vegas, and gunned him down.
his own
And that
cousin.
was his karma.
What did they say? Why the cousin possibly did it? Any motive?
I'm not sure, man. Knowing that guy's history, probably was just a scandalous person. Could have been some money involved. But there's a dude, like I said, he killed that 9-year-old girl, and based on the case, ended up dropping, the DA out here ended up fumbling the case. The dude never really served time in prison and just continued on with his life for, like, I think what it might have been, about more than 10 years he carried on with his life before his death.
Wow. Damn. Mm. What's his name? You remember that? Is a story on your channel?
Yeah. I'll look for it real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah, no pressure. Put it in the chat once you got it. Let me go to this next story. Yeah.
This that squad.